guys, how are you? In today's video, I want to share with you a conversation that I had with Coach Stijn, a very experienced coach from Belgium, and he has been living here in USA for about 4 to 5 years. He's a UFAB licensed coach, former professional player in Belgium, and I had the opportunity to talk to him about US soccer youth development. So check it out.
Exactly. Yeah, so Coach Sim from Belgium, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. So, Coach, first of all, thanks so much for coming on, right? Thank you. And I know you have a lot of experience. You have a big background. Uh, how long have you been here in the United States?
I think I'm getting close to my fifth year in the States now. So I came right after COVID. Yeah, so it's gonna be close to 5 years, yes.
Okay, right. So you know how things work here, and I'm sure you have opinions, suggestions, reflections about it. Like me, I'm not an American, so most of the times I make comparison with Brazil. Like, wow, Brazil, they do like this, they could do like that, all these
Mm.
things. So we have a big issue here, and from California to New York, United States, most of the time, not 100%, but most of the time, if you don't pay, you don't play.
Mm.
And fortunately, I believe many kids in this country, they know they kind of become, or they lose spots, they lose opportunities, they become out of the process.
Mm.
So, uh, what's your opinion? With your experience here, let's say 5 years, what's your opinion about pay to play here in the United States?
I think it's a little bit double. It's like you said, there's a lot of kids who can't afford to play or who can't afford to pay like actual club fees. Yeah, and they're being left out of the system. So I'm sure that a lot of talent, yeah, is being lost that way. Because we all know like areas around here where there's a lot of kids that actually have a lot of talent, but just can't afford it to actually play in an actual club team. So I'm sure like the state is losing out on a lot of talent already that way. But I gotta say, from the other side, the entire pay to play system also makes sure that all the clubs here have like good facilities, that they have a lot of full-time staff working for them. So yeah, it's a little bit double. Like from one side, there is a lot of talent that's being lost. From the other side, it does make sure that the facilities and everything around what's going on the pitch, yeah, is actually good. Because if I compare the facilities here to what we had in Belgium, if I compare the amount of full-time coaches that work here compared to Belgium, yeah, it's just way better. Um, so yeah, so it's a little bit double. There's good things about it, but there's definitely, yeah, a lot of bad things about it as well. Um, because I think the States would have like a way bigger pool of players. Yeah, if everybody was able to just play at the highest level.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, coach. Yeah. So do you believe, like, my second question for you, the youth development here in the United States, do you believe they are they are going the right direction, or do you believe they could change something here and there? What's your thoughts about it?
I think I think the average youth level is definitely getting better than what it used to be. Um, if I look at like the professional teams here, like in my area, then like Red Bulls or New York City, if they travel abroad and if they go to Europe, then they're actually doing well, competing against the European teams now. So I do feel like if we're talking about the teams on the highest level, that they're getting more and more competitive with the European teams. And especially on the younger side, even if I look at the teams that I coach here, like a lot of the kids, the very young kids, so the 7, 8, 9 year olds, they have like the same technical ability as players in Europe. Kids here are very athletic. Yeah, and there's just a lot of kids here because it's a big country. So I feel like, in general, I feel like if we're talking about the highest level teams here, then I feel like they're doing a good job, and they're getting closer and closer to what the European level is. And yeah, every year I see now as well. If, like I said, if teams travel to tournaments in Belgium, then I see they're doing well. I remember the 2010 Red Bulls team even won a big tournament last year in Europe. So I feel like they're doing better and better competing with those big European teams as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, coach. The next question is, let's say you have the power, to implement a change. If you have the power to implement or to change something in a youth soccer, what would you do? Would you do something if you have the power to say, whatever you say, that's going to be the change? What would you do?
I think the biggest thing that I would change is probably the league system. There's so many different leagues here, that I feel like that good teams have been, yeah, they're spread out all across those leagues. So in every league, there's like a couple good teams. There's a couple teams that can't keep up with the level. Yeah, and that's not good because if you compare the league system here to the league system in Europe, in every European country, the league is just run by the FA, and they have one league with a lot of brackets in it, of course. But that means that it's easier for teams to move up, and if you look at the first bracket there, yeah, it's a high level bracket. And if you look at our better leagues like ECNL, MLS Next, sometimes, yeah, in some ECNL leagues, there's still like pretty poor teams playing in them. Um, so I think it would be beneficial for all players here if we would have one league system, where all the top teams play each other. Because in the end, that's also an important one to get better. If you want to get better, you got to make sure that you have consistent competition, and you don't want to be playing a game one week where you win 8-0,
Yeah.
and then a good week the week after. Like if you want to become better, you need consistent competition. And I feel like all those different leagues here, and every year there's new ones popping up. Yeah, that messes up that system a little. So yeah, I think if I would be able to change one thing, I would definitely, yeah, change the league system here.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sometimes you see teams and you see games that, if you have good players, like in your club, you have a lot of good players there. If they play against teams that you win, like ANU, it's a waste of time
It
because
is.
you need challenge. Good kids need to be challenged. So
Mhm,
it's better they play against a very tough team and they lose, let's say, 2-0.
mhm.
Then they play with a easy team and they score 8, 9, 10 goals. You
Yeah.
know, everybody's
Yeah, I
happy, their
think.
parents are happy, but
I think like in the 4 or 5 years that I've been here, I've seen more blowouts in my entire life in Belgium. Like you just don't see it there because the league system is so well organized that every week it's a tight game. Like it never happened that I went to a game and that it became, yeah, a double digit game. Like it never happened. And here it happens like very often.
yeah, I
And
know, yeah.
that's a shame. Like half of your league games are just not competitive.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I share the same opinion. Okay, coach. My next question for you. You know, as you said, pay to play is one way for the club to get revenue, right?
Mhm.
And of course, it's an engine, you know, it's a process. But would you have in mind a suggestion for like a second or a third option for the clubs to create revenue? Like in Brazil, if I'm a small club and I have a kid that was with me for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, and this kid goes to a professional club, and after 5 years is an adult, this kid go to Europe. Whatever they make, let's say they make $10 million, I'm gonna receive something, 3, 4,
Hmm.
5, 6%. I don't know, but I'm gonna receive something.
Hmm.
Like here, like I don't know, would you have something like this, or what is your thoughts?
I think the thing is here, like there's also a lot of lower level teams that are being ran like pretty professional. And yeah, so it's very hard to replace that pay to play because that kind of level team, if you put that team in Brazil or put it in Europe, then there is no way they're gonna have full-time coaches. There's no way they're gonna have these facilities. So those clubs there don't need as much money, I think, as those teams here, just because they're being run professional over here. Um, so yeah, it's very hard to replace that, of course. The only thing that I can think of is a lot of teams in Europe, yeah, they're doing way more with sponsorships. Like if I look at teams here at the uniforms, it's very rarely that you see an actual sponsor on the shirts. Well, that's a thing that is very common, even in youth soccer in Europe. Every team has sponsors. Most of the time, even several ones, one on the chest, but also yeah, even on the back and stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, so I think that's the thing where clubs can get some money, but I think yeah, overall it's gonna be very hard to replace the pay to play structure.
Yeah, it's something that I think they should, you know, at least try something. I'm not against pay to play in terms of, oh, you have to finish this. No, that's not my opinion. I think they should try something else to add. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you pay to play, but you need something else, because if you have 100 kids here, let's say 100 kids, maybe 10, 20% they cannot pay, but they have a very good level.
Hmm.
So we gotta have something for these kids. Like they cannot pay, but they have the talent, they have the good, very good level. So something, not just, oh, if you cannot pay, sorry, go to somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
think they should try something for these 15, 20%, because every club, you don't have 100% kids in a very, very high level. You have the very good ones, you have the good ones, and you have the ones that, are just like recreation, all these things. You have the levels. So I I don't know. I think they should try something else to combine with pay to play, not
Hmm.
abolish pay to play, just to combine it. That's
Hmm.
my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
true. Because in the end, like if teams could find an extra way of income, like it could help to pay for the scholarships of kids that can't afford to pay
exactly,
the season fee. So yeah.
exactly. Like Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, he's retired now, but he says that he left one or two clubs when he was a teenager because he didn't have the money to pay the transportation to go to the club.
Hmm.
Look at that. Look, this club that lost this guy
Yeah.
because of money for transportation. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I'm sure they regret it now.
It's unbelievable. So okay, coach, my last question for you. I don't wanna take too much of your time. Uh, what's your feelings, for US national team, because the World Cup is coming next year,
Yeah.
and you start to look for the national team and pay attention to the outcomes when they play. They just play against Haiti, right?
Yeah. True.
So you start to pay attention to these games, and you start to make your reflection like what's gonna happen the World Cup. So what's your feelings for the national team?
Yeah, I think expectations need to be realistic. Like in the end, they're playing at home, so I'm sure they're going to be supported by a lot of people. So I'm sure they can, yeah, perform a little better than usual. But yeah, I think if they make it out of the group stage, that they already did a good job. And everything else is a bonus. I think it's unrealistic to compare them to the big nations like France or Spain or Brazil or Portugal. Because in the end, if you look at the squad of the US national team, like honestly, I don't think two players of that team would make it into any of those national teams. So it's unrealistic to believe that they're gonna go all the way and win the final. I think if they make it out of the group stage and they got two wins in the group stage,
Yeah,
they play a competitive game in the next round, then I think it's gonna be then I think the World Cup's already gonna be a success for them. Um, because anything more than that, yeah, is gonna be very hard. And of course, in a World Cup, it also you don't know what teams you're gonna play yet. So if you're a little bit lucky with the grouping and with the team that you play next,
yeah,
you
yeah,
might push on for an extra round. But in the end, if you want to win it all the way, you need to be able to beat the big teams. And yeah, like you said, they played Aichi. Yeah, that was already a struggle. Um, so yeah, so it's just unrealistic to think that they're gonna go there and gonna beat the big European teams or the big South American teams.
yeah. Okay, coach. Can I make you one more question, please?
Yes, of course.
Uh, Share with us, please. Like, let's say I'm a I'm a poor guy in Belgium, and I say poor, like very paycheck by paycheck, very,
Mhm.
every coin counts. But my kid, 7 years old, has a talent. So how it would work in Belgium? Like, what would be my options? How it works there?
Yeah, so playing soccer is basically free in Belgium. So there is no Yeah, so you shouldn't be worried about like paying fees or anything like that. I think most clubs have probably like a yearly fee of like $300 maybe. And that covers like everything. So that covers all trainings, tournaments, games, also the uniforms also included in that. So yeah, it's way cheaper compared to here, of course. And honestly, if you really have a talented player and he plays for a professional team or even a team that is like a good amateur team, like they will still offer spots completely for free. If they see that the talent is there. So yeah, so in Belgium for sports, it's in soccer, but it's also the same in any other sport. Yeah, the you don't need to be worried about fees. Like it's cheap to play. Um, and if you really can't afford it, there's a lot of like, yeah, institutions run by the government who also support families to have their kids play sports. Um, so yeah, so everybody can play. Doesn't even matter what level you have. Everybody can play. Um, yeah, that's how it goes there.
Wow. Yeah, wow, it's completely different, right? It's in Belgium, soccer is the first sport or the second. How it works there?
Yeah, so soccer is basically the only sport. Nah,
Oh, so
it's definitely the biggest sport, yeah, for sure. There's definitely other sports, but there's nothing with the same magnitude as soccer. Like that's definitely the biggest one.
okay, yeah, like Brazil, the first one, the biggest one. The other one is like kind of, but yeah. Okay. All right, coach. Thanks so much.
Of course.
Thank you for your, your help, your kindness, and your words. And okay, can I leave here down below your contact if someone wanna get in touch with you?
Yes, sure. It's fine.
Okay, so thank you so much. And it's interesting because it's a completely different reality. And as you said, in Belgium, doesn't matter how big is your check, at the end of the week or the month, so your kids can play soccer, they can have a chance,
Hmm.
and completely different from here. And yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, coach. I really appreciate that.
Of
Thanks so
course, you're
much.
welcome. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye bye.